So this is the final list in my series of videos where I've been covering different lists, or at least the lists that I care about. And this would probably be the biggest one because obviously being a movie guy, a movie channel, the best movies of the year is like the list that everyone looks forward to. And my list is a bit different because I am of that belief, like I said with the music stuff. Yeah, There Will Be Blood is a masterpiece, probably the best movie of that year. But you don't always want to see There Will Be Blood. Sometimes you just want to see Space Jam. So in this list, other than the top 5 that I have, and obviously I have a specific number 1 that I did enjoy, I think that there's a bunch of different movies in 2017 that, depending on the genre, are the best of its kind. I'm not like forcing anything into a genre, but sometimes some people don't care about sci-fi. Some people don't care about thrillers. Some people just want the movies where you could turn off your head. I'm kind of dividing my favorites in this video by genres, by what I thought were the best within that, what stood out, my honorable mentions just mixed within. Pretty much just my recommendations of 2017 since I saw 173 brand new releases, a lot of bad movies, a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of time I wish I could get back, a lot of things learned from movies. And this pretty much is the culmination of that list from everything that I saw. So know that if you don't want anything spoiled, because I go into all of these movies just fresh, just no trailers, no nothing. If you trust me, if you believe in me, then I 100% would recommend just checking out the list at the bottom, watching the movies, and then coming back and watching this video if you believe in me. I personally really like thrillers, and one of the best thrillers that I saw in 2017 was The Invisible Guest, which is a Spanish film, so if some of you don't like subtitles, I personally would say get over it, it's not too hard. But this is a movie in where you have two people who are married, they're very well off, but they're cheating with each other. And what ends up happening is that they're like on a business trip, they're just together, they're doing their thing, and then they accidentally run into somebody, kill them, and because they're not supposed to be together, they have to start lying and covering lies with lies with lies with lies with lies. And it is an intense thriller that just escalates. Sometimes it gets a little too crazy and you're like, what the heck is going on? All the time, it keeps you intrigued, however. And I don't want to say too much more about it because it's on Netflix. I know half of you like borrow passwords from other people, so you can watch it for free. Check it out. One of my favorite thrillers of the year alongside Wind River, which is a movie that I saw earlier in the year at Sundance. I was like locked in a blizzard in the middle of nowhere. And this movie is about the middle of nowhere where there's a blizzard going on. It's a fantastic, a lot slower, tense film in where there is a father who's got a daughter who went missing, and pretty much another dude who is a father whose daughter went missing before has to come in and try to figure out what happened. It has the best shootout scene since Reservoir Dogs. I've been saying this about the movie. I highly enjoyed the movie. I think it is a lot slower, but the build-up to it is one of the best of the years. From one of the best writers that is now doing his directorial debut. He's done other fantastic movies, and this one is definitely one that you should check out. I feel like every year, there's a couple of movies that come out that you watch, you appreciate, you think they're masterpieces, you never want to see them again. I can think back to movies like 12 Years a Slave, which I thought was one of the best movies of that year. But like Saturday comes around, the boys are over, I don't want to watch 12 Years a Slave. There's a lot of movies where they're so daunting, there's so much, sometimes you don't even like movies, but they get engraved into your head, and considering that movies are just frames, pictures, 24 pictures a second that are being put on a screen, if they make you feel something, I feel like they should be mentioned. So I got two here, one that I know people, a majority of people more so liked, and another one that I know a lot of people hated. Starting off with the one that a lot of people hated because I brought it up in a list, I have a whole video for it. The one movie, very few movies I would actually advocate getting spoiled before you go see it. Mother. This movie, it's crazy. It's insane. I mentioned it in a list before. Like I said, I have a whole video from it. I definitely recommend you knowing what the movie's about before you go see it, and then probably never seeing it again. But the reason I recommend it is because movies like these, I believe, even though you don't want to sit through it ever again, I think the conversation that it spawns is fantastic. Same thing with the other movie, Detroit. It's a movie that also takes place predominantly in one house, and you don't want to sit through something as daunting as that again because it's not pleasurable. but it's done very, very well. And again, the conversation that you get out of it afterwards, I think, is worth it. Both of these movies. Don't ever want to see them again, but you do want to talk about them. If you don't want to sit through things like that and you want something funny, I personally thought that The Disaster Artist was one of the funniest movies of the year. I think The Room is a movie that everyone should check out. It's on YouTube. It's even on YouTube for free in Spanish. Like, watch it with your friends. It's one of those movies that the more you watch it, the funnier it gets. And I am a person who finds inspiration in the weirdest things. And Mr. Tommy Wiseau is inspiration. A dude who went out, made a movie, it was terrible, and he embraced it and tours the country knowing that people laugh, but he's like, nah, you ain't gonna laugh at me, you're gonna laugh with me. The Disaster Artist is the making of that movie, and while it's not as funny in my opinion, it still has a sense of humor because I love movies that deal with making movies, but more so I love how they add a heart to it, how they talk about that the making of The Room was like a friendship type thing, how it was a love project that this guy was making. And while I don't think that Franco deserves an Oscar, while a lot of people do, I think it's more of a parody. He's just trying to imitate Tommy Wiseau. I think the role is funny. There are a majority of times, what makes my favorite movie a favorite movie is when I can quote it a lot, and I quote this movie a ridiculous amount of times. Whenever my buddy and I are like thinking of, well, should we do this? Should we not? Is it going to be difficult? Is it going to be worth it? We just say,
I don't care. I'll do it.
I saw it like 3 times in theaters, so I definitely think it's worth watching, alongside another one, which is Thor Ragnarok. I thought this movie was hilarious. I know a lot of people complain that there was no development for Thor, even though, you know, and this is spoilers, because I'm pretty sure you should have seen it, Thor doesn't have an eye anymore. They pretty much like cut off, they break his hammer, his dad dies, his world gets destroyed, the villain he has to defeat is a sister he never knew was there after he finally figured out that everything he believed in was just a lie, as they were like pilgrims who killed everyone. Like I said, his world gets destroyed. He realizes that his brother, who he loved growing up, will never be that brother that he cherished anymore. And then he becomes the king who has to lead everyone out as he's this new Moses with a bunch of people and he doesn't know where he's going. But there's no character development. I don't care that it's a Marvel movie. A lot of people jump on like, oh, you're going to have a blockbuster. I don't care. It's on my list because I love Taika Waititi. Taika Waititi is one of the funniest men out there. I love What We Do in the Shadows. I also recommend Hunt for the Wilder People. Boy, I think he's one of the funniest guys in the world, and I love the fact that he brought his style, and unlike a lot of other indie directors who go and do big blockbusters for big studios, and it's like, well, where'd your presence go? His presence is all over this. The reasons that some people hated it are the reasons I loved it. He went, got a blockbuster and said, I'm going to play Whose Line With It Anyway with this thing. And I was laughing throughout. Both of these, I think, are the funniest movies of the year. I made a video about the best Easter eggs in movies for 2017, which really was just a list of the movies that are worth rewatching multiple times because you're going to see something new in it. Both of these movies I saw a total of 4 times each. Baby Driver and Get Out. Baby Driver to me is Edgar Wright to me. He's like the biggest inspiration when it comes to editing and transitions, which I know is cliche. It's probably to a lot of other film people. But Get Out as well is a movie that you would think coming from Blumhouse, it's going to be trash like, 70% of their stuff is. But then you remember, Blumhouse put out Whiplash. Now they put out Get Out, which arguably, well, even if you hated it, was the biggest movie of 2017 culturally. But what makes it so good is that you rewatch it and you're like, I can call this movie trash, but I didn't pick up on like 5 things the first time or the second time that I saw it. Both of these movies, the more that you rewatch them, you pick up on new things. And to me, I value that. If a movie has so much detail, it's crafted so well that you pick up on things like the 10th time, it's worth mentioning. I've seen these movies so many times. I highly recommend you watching it. If you have, watch it again. When it comes to blockbusters, sadly, a lot aren't really that good. They're dumb fun, but there are very few blockbusters that come out and they're impacting. For me, that was Logan this year. I thought Thor Ragnarok was the funny blockbuster, but to me, Logan is one of the very few trilogies where the first is terrible, then the second's like, okay, I can see you have potential. And then Logan comes out, and I stated in the beginning of the year, I still mean it to this day, I think is the best superhero movie since The Dark Knight. It's sad, it's heart-wrenching, but at the same time, it's a mixture of a Western, neo-noir. It's still a superhero movie, but done in a post-apocalyptic time. I think it's great. It's one of the very few things where it doesn't just rely on the story, which I think the story's done very well. It relies on the fact that we have been following this character for almost 2 decades, and it pays off. I loved Logan. I thought it was fantastic. It's my favorite blockbuster of the year, one of my favorite movies of the year. I would also put War of the Planet of the Apes up there. I don't think that it's as good as Dawn, but I like the fact that it boosted up Dawn. I also thought that if you're looking for action movies in a sense, I think the best action scene, while I didn't love the movie, best action scene has to go to Atomic Blonde because that has the best oneer of the year. And then also Valerian was pretty decent. Best looking movie of the year, in my opinion, was a small film not a lot of people saw called Columbus. It is fantastic. There is a scene in where they're just walking together, and the more that they get to know each other, you notice that the separation between them diminishes, and it's a movie done by a dude who makes videos just like a lot of us do. His name's Kogonada. I know he makes more videos on Vimeo, but to see someone, I guess in a sense like us, who has a passion for film and dissects other movies, make their own movie, I think it's really cool. It's paced a little bit slower. It's the story of Columbus, the city that has really, really nice architecture and everything is just framed perfectly, and this relationship that blossoms between two people. I highly recommend checking it out just for the symmetry alone. I know not a lot of people caught it, but it's a very peaceful film, and I think it's one of the best looking ones. Blade Runner, I would also say, when it comes to a bigger movie, hands down one of the best looking films of the year. I know some people would put it story-wise as one of the best. I would too. If I hadn't seen Westworld Season 1, then maybe I would have been more blown away by it. I still loved it, made a video about it, thought it was a very intriguing concept, but where it really excelled to me was as one of the best movies of the year. Visually, you can pause it at any frame, print that bad boy up in Kinko's, and now you got yourself a wallpaper. Both of these movies are very good looking. Watch them with your eyes. Up next is the best story that wasn't a movie. Before I get to my top 5, I don't make TV lists, even though I would highly recommend Ozark. I would always recommend BoJack Horseman. Surprisingly, if you give this one a chance, Dear White People is also pretty good, especially episode 5, but the one that transcended it, the one that I know this is a movie list, but I gotta mention if I'm talking about the things that I love the most, the things I watch the most, American Vandal on Netflix, which anyone can watch right now, is this fantastic thing. It's a mockumentary made about this kid who's trying to figure out who really vandalized the school parking lot with a bunch of penises. It sounds ridiculous, and I hate the fact that it's such a crazy premise that intrigues someone like me, but then dives into something that's better than a CSI show, something that should be winning all these Emmys. But I know the penis part is going to distract a lot of people. If you trust my opinion, please give this a shot. It's a reason why it's on this list. It's so intriguing. One of the best episodes happens later on. I want to say it's 8, where they're trying to figure out who really did this. Is it the person everyone's blaming? Is it somebody else? Is it a teacher? Is it someone who doesn't even go to the school? And they try to collect all this evidence through Snapchat footage, through Instagram, through Facebook Live footage. The series feels as welcoming as like when you click on a YouTube video and you see like someone just speaking from their heart, but it has this production value that Netflix has given it. I highly recommend it. Go watch it. Let me know what you think. But now my top 5. Call Me By Your Name. I think this is the best love story of 2017, and I think it has the best score of 2017 with Sufjan Stevens. Visions of Gideon, fantastic. Mystery of Love, really good. Futile Devices remix thing. Listen to all of them. Watch the movie. I watched this back at Sundance. Saw it again a couple months ago. Thought it was fantastic. Was editing a video for it. I want to go back to Sundance. It is a fantastic movie. Should give it a shot. Best scene, hands down, is the end of the movie because I have been saying this. Timothée Chalamet, he needs to win the Oscar. Everyone needs to know about this kid. I'm quickly falling in love with him. Number 4 is Molly's Game, mainly because I am a huge fan of Aaron Sorkin and his writing, and he does it again here. I think the Olympics that he does with his dialogue between two people. Do people talk like that in real life? Absolutely not. That's why I go to the movies to see people talk like that. I don't think that his directing, because, we've seen his scripts done by people like David Fincher, which elevated to a whole new level. But his directing it's fine. What I go for it is for the script, and I thought it was fantastic. The scene with her and her father, played by Kevin Costner, who's playing the same father he did in Man of Steel, but it works better in this time. I thought that scene was fantastic. The tidbit about Jesse Owens, the guy who came in second place, was fantastic. It's one of the best written movies of the year, in my opinion. Check it out. Number 3 is, look, there's like 3 movies that almost had me to tears. Coco was one of them. That one practically got me there. The Florida Project was another one with the ending before it just jarred me. That almost got me there. But Lady Bird is a movie in where all my apologies go to Greta Gerwig, because I've never really liked her roles. I've never really cared for her movies. So I went into this going like, all right, let's just get this over with. Everyone says it got 100%. Then I watched it and I'm like, look, I apologize. I am a huge mama's boy, so when it came to watching this movie and then a certain part happens, best scene is a scene dealing with these yellow notepad letters. When you realize that it's just as much the mother's story as it is the girl's story, you realize this is one of the best movies of the year. And for me, it just got me, and I was like, yep, this is getting up there. Number 2 is the film Phantom Thread. Look, I know I said Timothy is the best actor of the year, and I am actually rooting for him, but I'm worried that this role is obviously going to beat him, because this is Daniel Day-Lewis's final role, and of course he delivers. The thing with this movie is that I went into it, and I'm sure a lot of people who are going to see it are going to think, oh, it's this old-timey Oscar bait thing. While it is, it's also a straight-up episode of a BET show, because these two end up clashing. It's about a dressmaker who, makes dresses, and he invites a woman to live with him because he just goes through women like nothing because, he's older. He never wants to get married. He never wants to get tied down. He just gets a new chick. Problem is that this chick may change everything, and this dude's like, no, you ain't, and they just clash with each other. There is an asparagus scene, which is has the most gangsta line from Daniel Day-Lewis I have ever heard. The way they fight, like I said, you think it's this old-timey tale. They fight like it's an episode of Housewives. It's fantastic. The ending is one of the few scenes where theaters now have recliners. You might think went back even more, because I could not believe where this thing was going. I highly recommend it. You need to check this movie out. I wish more people knew about it. Finally, at number 1 is the movie I've been talking about since Sundance. It's a movie that I almost didn't see, but I was like, you know what, I'll go check it out. Absolutely loved it. Brigsby Bear is my personal favorite. Not claiming it to be everybody else's best movie of the year. Not claiming it to be the best movie of the year. But I loved it. I have not stopped thinking about it since Sundance. Seen it since Sundance. It still sparks everything. It's quirky, it's weird. It's the one sci-fi movie starring Mark Hamill that I think more people will like in 2017. But I've been recommending it since forever. I wished more people saw it. The reason I love it is because it's the story of someone and their friends, someone in their family coming together to do something they love. And for me, obviously it's going to strike a chord when it comes to making movies and having the people who you love working with you and doing the thing that you love. But to me, that is always the best way to bond with people. It's when you're working on something. It's when you're doing something together, not just chilling or hanging out, but creating something together. And this movie captured one of my favorite things in a film, and I loved it completely. Shout out to Zach. If y'all don't watch The Intercut, it's a podcast I have. I'll plug it in right here. He got me this poster. It is it's my favorite movie for a reason. I highly recommend it. Check it out. Favorite scene, again, is when they're working together to make movies, because, those emotions is why I go to the movies to begin with. Overall, those are my favorites of the year. Like I said, if you have any other ones that stood out, don't just recommend it. Give me your favorite scene from that movie. Let me know why you loved it. Why did it define your 2017? But other than that, I'll be having a bunch of other videos coming out for this year. Obviously, I'll be going to Sundance, so if you're at Sundance, I will be wherever Bo Burnham's movie is showing. You can find me there. Hoping to go to South by Southwest. Other than that, you can just find me here. I am going to go continue watching movies, then probably take a nap and change my shirt.